TNT episode 16. Tommy, when I said we were getting a rock star on, I think we've delivered there.
100%, mate. This is better than Nickelback Rockstar, mate. This is the one, mate. So it is.
Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, my name is John Paul Bryce, owner of JPs GYM. Hello, lads.
Hi,
Hello.
mate.
Thank you so much for having me on, and thank you very much for the kind words as well. Nickelback.
The tune Rockstar. Hey, hey, I want to be a rock star. That should be the theme for the gym. See, every time you scan the code at the gym, it should play that line. That would be epic, so bad, man.
Don't put ideas in his
That's
head.
the
He will do
jingle.
that. We'll just have a video of John Paul appears with his guitar singing it.
Oh, that's sick, man. Should do a live gig in the gym. Just saying.
Well, do you remember the old unit before we get into 3.0?
Aye.
We used to rehearse in there on a Saturday.
Saturday night. Imagine
No, genuinely we did.
Really? Actually, didn't know that.
you join the gym and then nobody tells you this. Then a Saturday night you're like, what's happening up here?
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, we'll get into the nitty and gritty of how JPs became what it is. First of all, we wanted to just get you on. Me and Tom obviously know you for a friendship standpoint. So much knowledge, such a great story behind you, and we just want to obviously give our listeners a bit of depth to kind of where you were, where you started. So we'll maybe just jump into it and have you going back to the start of your fitness journey, how you got into it. You can take the stage and tell us how we got to this point.
Okay, so I have officially been training for 26 years.
It's older than me, mate.
Yeah, 26 years I've been training for. So even before that, in school as well, I was into loads of different sports. I played football, rugby for the school team. I did karate. I ran for Airdrie Harriers back years ago. I did cross country for the school. So all through my younger days. And I started weight training when I was 15, 16, I think.
Yep.
And I remember the gym, it was a place in Motherwell, can't remember the name of it, but it was 2 floors and it was on the main street. When you went in, it was very like 80s, like I think upstairs was all the kind of commercial side, so you had mostly treadmills and then the kind of pin select machines as well, so that's machines that you select the weight in them. And then down the stairs was the kind of iron old school area, you know, I kind of remember it being rectangular.
The dungeon.
Yeah, so it was just like it was really small, but a big rectangular shape, and you had like the cable stacks in the corners of the room and so forth. But that's where I first learned weight training, basically. Mm-hmm. Now I've been training ever since, and I started personal training in 2010. So that.
Tell us the story of how this. I think you ran pubs stuff at some point. Yeah.
Yep. So that was at one stage in my life. So I started running pubs when I was 24, up until I was roughly 27, and at that point, when I'd got my job, I think it was a few months in, and then I'd got assistant manager in the Western Bar in Coatbridge. And then at some stage, I got promoted to manager, and I got asked to go and work in the Heritage Bar as well. Now, like one other hobby I've got is I love music. I love to sing and play guitar as well. And back then, I was, well, at that point, I was full-time bar manager, right? Yeah. So we weren't in personal training stage yet. But at the same time, I kind of wanted a career in some form of, like, musically. And I not only did gigs with guitar and singing, but I did karaoke as well. So I ran karaoke on a Friday, Saturday night at the pubs and stuff.
What was your karaoke song back then?
Oh, I don't know, mate. I've loads because that was my job, you know. So if it was quiet, then you would sing most of the night.
I couldn't see you letting anyone up.
But I guarantee it's not the same kind of music that I play in the band now. Mostly pop stuff anyway, but...
Any Westlife?
When you're looking like that?
World of Your Own. I like a bit of Boyzone. Robbie Williams.
Calm down.
We'll start. I mean, you'll go to karaoke night. We'll see what happens then.
JP's, man, Saturday night when they're practicing, you just hear, "Is this the way to heaven?"
Hey, listen, you could do that. You could have a Saturday night like disco. I see a lot of gyms are doing that now. Anyway, they get the Friday night DJ sessions.
I've seen this actually. Aye, a lot of them down south and stuff like that, isn't it? I've not seen many up here, but
imagine that, mocktails and karaoke.
Oh, mate, that'd be crazy. And
couldn't
dumbbell
you
incline
couldn't
press.
do that up here. Somebody would end up getting a bag of gear dropped off to your gym.
Oh man.
But I can't. Six cans and a bag of gear to go and train chest.
So basically, my shifts were quite weird. They were either I quite like doing doublers, so I would sometimes be like 12 o'clock to 12. And as I said before, I was also looking to do some form of singing as well. Yeah. So we would go to, so I'd either be doing like paid gigs, that'd be like a Friday, Saturday night, or I would be going to Glasgow and you'd be doing like free gigs. Yep. So you'd go up and you'd write your own music and you'd go up and play it in front of people, basically. But that life also came with a lot of socialising at the same time, and pretty much daily, you know. So it's that kind of rinse and repeat. You're working, say 12, you know. You'd go out after it. You'd be out to 3-4 in the morning. Sometimes you'd have like a kind of a lock-in. Yep. Sorry, Rab and Pav. Nah, they kind of knew, but that was the whole thing, you know. You'd be out to, as I say, 3-4 in the morning. You'd go to bed. You'd wake up, rinse, repeat, and that was my life constantly through that time. Now, when I remember one time I was in the Heritage and Pav, he was my like manager basically, but he's now my accountant, and we always have this same conversation like every year. And I remember, so I was really bad place, and we can obviously get into that in our stage, but I have been at a point where I've had absolutely zero and nothing before I get into the pubs, and then obviously I started building my life back up again. But I remember one day I'd come in from a night out, and obviously I was working, but I could still do my job as well, but I was in a absolutely mega rough. And Pav came in one day and he says, JP, listen, I need to speak to you son in a minute. You're sacked.
It's the 5th lock-in this month.
But Pav, I'm making your fortune. Well, they're spending all the money in the pub, aren't we?
It was a Wednesday night job, Paul.
But that's it, mate. You're getting your wages and you're spending them. You're putting them back into the place you work. You know what I mean?
Reinvestment.
That's helping the local community economy.
Exactly. But we're in the Heritage Bar, and he says, come here, son. And he took me outside and he says, have a wee look to your right-hand side. And there was this brick wall to the right, and there was this guy sitting on it, and he was bum status, you know, can of tenders in the hand. And he's like, he says, look, he says, I'm just looking out for you. We're good friends, obviously. I says, but if you really don't sort your life out, that's going to be you.
Aye.
And I'm kind of like, what? And I just, a little bit of light bulb after that time. And I remember it was like a couple of weeks later, and I'd asked Pav to come into the pub to get a little meeting with him. And I'd say to Pav, I says, look, you do me a favour. I says, first off, that conversation we had, I've took a lot from it, and I've decided that I need to move on from my job.
I thought you were going to say I'm going to go and sit next to him.
That as well. Maybe did. But I'm like, I decided I need to move on from my job, and I've decided that I'm not going to waste my own life anymore.
Yep.
And I want to dedicate it to changing the life of others, and I'm going to become a personal trainer. At that point through that time, so I wasn't making a lot of money back then. I was making like £250 a week maybe, if that was it. So I did say to my mum through that time, I'm like, you do me a favour. I says, I'm obviously going to leave my job. Would you mind if I come back home and stay for a few months? And she's like, yeah, sure, son, no matter what, you know. So I decided to go back home, and then from that point, I never looked back. But I still worked in the pubs part-time while I was doing my personal training as well. So obviously, thanks to Rab and Pav, obviously, for keeping me going through that. And I still did karaoke as well. Weekends for a long day. To this day, no, well, for a long time, you know, like on a Friday, Saturday night. But then got to the point where it was just you're up to 1 a.m, and then you're working at 6 a.m. But that was it. I never looked back in 2010 to now.
With them saying that to you, like, I obviously know you. You are somebody that is all or nothing, all in. We all have that kind of party stage at, say, 18 to 24. Was partying or that social something that you were maybe immersed too much in, that you would have ended up going the wrong way if you didn't pull yourself into the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think like in all throughout your whole life, you know, you're always given opportunities to sink or swim.
Yep.
You know, and if you sink, you go one direction, and if you swim, you learn from that, and you can teach others.
Yep.
Aye.
You know, and you can be a positive influence to other people as well. So I'm kind of like that. All I need is that moment,
There it goes.
and I can snap out of things, you know. So even we're talking about alcohol and that as well. I mean, I was out like every night, you know, and it wasn't just a couple of drinks, you know. Sometimes I would be getting like really, really wasted, and the point I'd be blacking out and stuff like that as well. And it kind of got to the point before I spoke to Pav, you know, I was, as I said, I mean, the money I was getting, you was just spending it all.
Yeah.
And like I would even like sneak up to my Aunt Sadie's house, you know. I was that broke, you know. I would say, Aunt Sadie, do me a favour, I like, don't tell my mum, but can I borrow £2-3 off you to go and get a pint? And that would only get me like 1.5 pints, and then I'd maybe borrow a couple of £2 off somebody when I was down there.
So it wasn't it wasn't like a addiction. It was more that your routine was that drilled in that just kind of.
I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically stuck.
Yeah.
You know, so I think sometimes when you can get so
In your ways.
it's like I dug not just a small hole, I dug a trench.
Yeah.
So trying to get back out of that's not always easy, you know. But sometimes when you go so far one direction, all it takes is a aha moment.
Yeah.
And then that's me, and that's the same way. I've been like that my whole life, basically.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
it takes is that, right, okay, what am I doing? And I'll just move in the other direction, you know.
See, from a more positive standpoint, the hospitality industry, how big was that for you in development? Because it's something that I worked in pubs and stuff when I was younger, and I would suggest it to my kids who work in pubs or something similar, because it allows you to speak to people that you maybe wouldn't come across in life, and you're kind of challenge yourself. I would say it's probably made me even better coach and better one-to-one interactions. But was it the same with you? Did that bring you along, although it came with its complications? Was it a good part of your life as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I could go back, I would never change anything.
Yeah.
If anything, I would maybe just write some stuff down. Like 18 to 24 to me is completely, I don't have photos, I've got no phone of any memories of that at all. I mean, my mum's got a lot of memories of what I was like back then, really. But me, not so much, you know.
Yeah.
I think going back to when we're speaking about hospitality, 100%, because you're working with the public, and you're speaking to so many amazing, unique individuals, you know, that are in certain
Stages of life.
certain stages of life, maybe going through different things, and you're there as an ear, you know, and you can build up good rapport. I mean, obviously you were making tips back then as well, so, and yeah, I loved it. It's one of those jobs where obviously you got to question a job when you're younger like that, pubs and going out into the city centre or being in your own town and so forth, and getting to go out after it, and like you're around so many different people, and it's a great life.
Yep.
But what happens when you get to the 50, 60, 70, and you're still that person behind the bar?
Yep.
You know? And that was just something that, like, obviously I was trying to become a musician as well, so really, although I love my job, it wasn't realistic staying there, because financially what I was making was buttons, really.
Yep.
You know, so it's a career that I really didn't see well, obviously I was a manager of the pubs, but I wasn't in a position where I really wanted to continue going in that direction.
Yep.
I was obviously exercising all through even my trouble time as well. Half cut, yeah. I mean, it's one way you get rid of the hangover, isn't it?
Aye, definitely.
No, but I was training all the way through it.
Yep.
So obviously I had 10, 11, 12 years worth of training as a background before I decided to go into personal training as well. So I had a good understanding of exercise and exercise execution as well before I moved into PT. And then once I got the qualification, obviously that gave me a stepping stone to continue learning post PT qualification, because we all know what the qualifications are truly like.
Yep.
And then, as I said, that was it from there. But 100% agree with you, because you, as a coach, you're dealing with people from all walks of life. So it gives you, I'd say, essential life skills, because it gives you the ability to basically work with anyone. And I think when you're going into coaching, I feel a lot of people tend to kind of, and that's fine, niching's fine, and going in a direction's fine, especially when you look at Instagram and it's like, I want to work with this individual and so forth, right? That's fine. But I think from a base point of view, the more variations of people you can work with, I think it will potentially make you a better coach long term. And I definitely know we're jumping, but I think from our last 15 years, I've been obviously working with the public from a fitness perspective. And if I hadn't sank a little bit and then swam, then I wouldn't be able to kind of understand the people that I was working with and wanted to work with. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I wish I had more experience in that environment even when I was younger, mate, because like I never really went out much, as in like my weekends were consumed just smoking. So it was like the polar opposite end of the environment. And a lot of people would probably be surprised by that, with how social I am. But my environment was super antisocial. And now that, like, I don't feel like I missed out on anything, don't get me wrong, because I wouldn't change a thing either. But it is so important. Like, it is really important. I know people that, like, for instance, people I went to school with that in school were maybe a bit quiet or whatever else, and you don't meet them for a few years and you meet them a few years later. And at one point in my life, I'm thinking, what am I doing? Because they were so confident and like they'd changed so much, etc. and blah, blah, blah. Whereas I was just in the bedroom or in the motor with my pals, smoking my pan in every weekend.
It was probably your weight and how you seen yourself that stopped you from being who you are now. That whole, because we know that you could talk to that door.
Aye.
But it's more what you were doing to yourself back then, probably.
That exactly kind of what you're saying, that whole digging a hole and then not knowing how to get out the hole. Because it was like, I've dug a hole and it was like, right, I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to start going out. But I didn't want to go out because it was too big, because I was smoking and emptying Tesco's crisp aisle every 3 days. You know what I mean? So it was just like constantly more and more and more. And I never had an exact moment like that, but it was just in ways similar to you. Like, it was just done. Like, forget it, that's it, it's over. Never smoked since kind of thing. It was like, I need to be the complete opposite side to this, because if I stay like this, I'm just going to continue digging and digging and digging. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So that new stage of your life began when you started PTing. Where did that start? And what did that lead to? Well, we obviously know what it's led to. GPOs? GP 3.0.
It should be 17.0.
I'm sure it will be.
Maybe. Right, so I was in DW Sports for 8 years as a 1-to-1. So when I had first started out, DW had just transitioned from JGB.
Remember JGB?
Right. But JGB, if I remember correctly, it wasn't the same kind of model that most gyms have now. And I think I understand it financially, but there used to be like level 2 instructors, remember? And you'd have floor walkers.
Yep.
And then you'd have the PT. So in JJB, they had lots of level 2s. So if you were in the gym and you were a little bit stuck, you always had somebody there.
Yep.
You know? Then the model changed and they when they moved to DW, they get rid of the level 2s and then just wanted to bring in personal trainers. So the theory behind that is basically you could either do floor walking plus pay rent, or you could do, the model right away was you had to do hours on the floor and then you'd move into full time, right? So when I first started personal training in there, I think there was only 3 of us at the time. I was the third personal trainer to come in. So 3 personal trainers, 3,500, 4,000 members. Yeah. So I did very, very well at the start, just obviously due to the hours I was putting in at the same time. And within a month, I'd stopped doing the floor work and I'd moved into just trying to get my own clientele, basically. So I think that's one of the models that I wish, obviously great for coaches and stuff like that, but I think that a lot of gyms miss out. It's nice to have that, at least 1 to 2 people on the floor, basically. Yeah. I can understand financially why people don't, but I think that's a wee gap that's missing for a lot of clubs as well, is just having one person between management and the floor.
Again, it's probably
or the coaching.
somebody that's maybe new to the industry or somebody that's younger. That can be there. What was our pubs? That way of just talking to people, that way of developing your confidence.
Instead of having to jump into PT straight away, you know, you get the option of being on the gym floor. You're learning, like, even just how to keep things tidy and stuff like that as well. You know, you're learning good awareness on the gym floor.
Being in an atmosphere that you want to thrive in, it's you need to walk around and get your bearings first rather than jumping in the deep end. But obviously, you spent time up at the DW for a while. How long were you there before you made a big decision in your life?
So it was 8 years. So it was 2018 when we opened JP's Gym 1.0. But that wasn't the first gym I actually kind of had, if you include my extension in my garage. so JP's originally started when I was... I had a house before that had a big garage in it, basically, and I decided to floor the garage and carpet, and I'd bought a power rack, a bench, a barbell, dumbbells, plates, and I think that was the only stuff I actually had in the garage at that point. But at the same time, I was running boot camps for my clients in the park out the back of the house, basically, and I would do a little bit of personal training in the garage as well. Then just a lot of things happened in my personal life, basically, and I moved into a different house. With that house came an extension this time, which I decided to move everything into, and then I'd bought a TRX, bands, a reverse hyper extension. I think that's all I had.
All you do to keep buying kit, is it?
No. Here we are now. So that's all I had in extension at the time. And at this point, I had dogs as well. So I don't know how a lot of people do their like PT now, obviously, but back in the old days, we would be working from potentially like 6 a.m. until 12:30. Then you'd have a gap in the afternoon, and then you'd come back maybe 4 o'clock and you'd work to 7, 8, or when I was first there, I was there from 6 to 10 basically.
Yep.
Now, in between that, I would either, like, you don't always get the routine right away, it takes some time to...
Shifts are horrible, isn't it? It's like,
it's like
2
shifts a day.
It's like being a chef without the swearing and the cocaine.
2 shifts a day, but it does so gently. You do feel like you're going home, and then you come back to another routine and shift again, you know. So obviously routine take a bit of time to get my exercise in, get the many get the clients in that you work in the morning. Then I'd go home for the dogs, obviously, and come back and then work, and then I'd go back home and have the dogs and so forth. So kind of at that point, it wasn't fair on, I felt, my pets at the time. And so I decided that I thought maybe I should go half and half. So I'll train half my clients at the house, and I'll train half my clientele at DW Sports as well. So at that point, I'd actually had an Irish there at this point.
Yep.
So a lot of people don't know about Abel. So I had an Irish there at this point. He sadly passed away. He had bone cancer at 18 months. I know. So it's 6 months after Abel passed where I decided to get another dog, basically. And then comes the OG Caleb.
The best, man.
The main man.
The main man. So, learning from past experiences, I didn't really want... Obviously, I enjoyed being in DW, and I understood the need to still be in DW, just to do with the amount of like members that they obviously have. But I did decide to say to my clients as well. In fact, I'll tell you, I've got one story. But so I remember I was sitting in the bar in DW at the time, and I was talking to one of the other personal trainers, and he was interested in opening his own gym, but it was just like a year and a half, 2 years, and he was still just hadn't made the moves yet to do so. And we're standing at the bar, and I remember him saying to me, he's like, I don't even know why you even train here in the first place. I'm thinking, what do you mean? you want to shot me? Well, probably did. But he's like, you've got your own place. I don't get why you don't just train there. But obviously, I'm not really a at home guy. You know, I like to go out and be about, and the same thing. I like being around lots of people and that as well. So I just didn't really want that kind of lifestyle. But he did plant a seed, and I remember that weekend actually. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go and look for a unit, just out of curiosity. So I drove all around Coatbridge, and I think it was by the Sunday I got to Brown Street, and I'd noticed there was one unit 8 up for lease, and I left a message with Anne to get back to me, and she got back to me on the Monday. And I think that was the start of May, and I'd opened the gym. I'd opened JP's.
So how quick, since you spoke to Anne, did you make that decision that this is mine?
Right, so she got back to me on the Monday, and
the Monday afternoon.
So it's funny because when you look now and the size of the actual gym and the amount of members that we have and so forth, like the mindset shift. But I met up with her on the Monday. She was kind enough to come down the Monday, and it was actually a different unit she was showing me. Like that was going to be our second unit, but she was showing me this one first, and this one had a big partition in the middle. It had a big desk in it, and it had all the offices, which it has still the offices in the partition, obviously, as you know. So at that point, it just didn't really look like a studio.
Yeah.
Right? So she had the one next to it vacant, so she let me see in there as well. And I went in, I'm like, wow, this is massive. Like, massive. And when she came in, I was like, listen, can we come back in a few days? I just think this is too big for me. You know, so I'm going to see if I can get, I had one of my clients who was like multi-trades, so he can obviously put up a petition for me. I'm going to get one of my clients to come down and have a look at it and see if he can build a wall for the time being. And then what I'll do is, because I was thinking like, if it's too big, it'll be freezing. And if I just block off a little bit, I can have my small studio in the back and we'll just run it like that for the time being, you know. At the same time, I think it was either a pure gym or a fitness first. Is that the name of it? No. Is it fitness first? I can't remember. It was one of the big chain names anyway, right? So, no, it wouldn't have been fitness first. It might have been...
Is it New Age Fitness or something maybe, or something like that?
It's kind of down that road. There's one group that always use that used to use Hammer Strength and Life Fitness as their main equipment to get in basically when they open up. So anyway, they were closing down in the city centre, and one of my other clients, Richard, was coming in with me. I'd managed to get an auction the Life Fitness cable stack, the
bomb-proof.
The bomb-proof.
How old's that machine now?
Well, it's been with us for 8 years, but it's maybe 10, 11 plus years.
Mental.
The cables have never been changed.
I've never changed the cable on it. I've never tightened a bolt. I've never needed to tighten a bolt.
It's the world's heaviest stack as well.
It's so heavy,
You
mate.
could fire a bazooka at that. I think it would bounce back to me.
So it's
Whatever happens in the world, that is staying there forever.
Mate, that's safe.
It's so funny because I've got the absolute fear of moving it because it just sits there. We have tried to. Tony has tried to move it
Right, how should we
before.
go about this? We'd moved every bit of equipment in that gym, and they've seen the two of us just looking at each other like,
I need to buy another cable.
that is one winner over there, and I've got this. I think you feed off that, like, you know, if you want me to move something, you'll just plant it in my head and I'll like get myself up for it. But I think even the both of us were like, nah, that's staying there.
Like, Tony,
It's still there.
I'm like, Tony, I don't think you'd be able to manage that, mate.
No, that one I'm like, you're right, let's go.
I know, but it's just the way cable stacks are, is because all the loads in such a small bit, you know, so when you go to move it, it just spins side to side.
Just laughs at you.
So anyway, I'd bought that. I'd bought 2 Hammer Strength HD racks, I think.
Right.
And lockers and all the nice grey mats that everyone likes to fold up for their...
The lockers have got the same
Fluffy
treatment
stuff.
as that Life Fitness cable machine, haven't they?
Chucked out the side.
And they put the lockers out the back.
They lasted well, by the way, but it got to the point where the keys were snapping and everything, so... And plus they were blue.
Is it the mats that are still in the gym now?
Yes. They have lasted really well.
They have lasted well.
I know.
Stop. The dweebs need to stop folding them up, mate, and fucking
Brilliant
using
fluffy
them.
nonsense.
Aye, man, aye. But that's mental. So that's...
So basically, when I'd got those 3 pieces, that was when I seen the size of them. I thought, geez, I'm going to need a bigger gym. But I mean, at that point, just when I look back in conversations as well, I mean, opening the gym, like, it's funny how when you think something's just so you're like overwhelmed.
Yes, aye, definitely.
Yeah. Or you're in awe, of this.
I think we will get to your mindset and how you are just now as like just as a man, as an individual. But back then, obviously, because you just started taking these wee steps, was there an element of the word overwhelmed isn't something that I put in my John Paul, but I didn't know you back then. But was that an element of that back then, or were you always the way you are?
Well, I think I've always been driven the way I am.
Yep.
But in terms of what I feel I'm capable of, has changed.
Actually,
do you know what I mean? So I always believe I can do everything to the best of my ability, but like sometimes you need to experience different things to realise the potential you have, if that makes sense. But obviously it was just because at that point where I didn't know where the gym was going to go, I didn't know how many members I was looking for, or it was really just a place where I could have my dog with me every minute of the day, have maybe 100 members if my clients wanted to PT in the gym, they could do that basically.
Yeah.
And that was the mindset on it, Plus I didn't really, like, financially it was a massive gamble for me because really I had very, very little to start it in the first place. So it was really just trying to make every penny count, and I look back. And a lot of things were basically a lot of things were second hand, but I'd got a lot of stuff from a company as well as a startup basically to get going. I think I had £10,000 to open the gym.
Mate, that's insane. That's absolutely mental. With all the work that you had to do inside it, that's not like 10k for equipment. That's like 10k to just do everything.
So basically, I mean, we could go back way past, but at a point there where I had no capital basically. Aye. So I was fortunate to get a £10,000 loan. My mum kindly got me a £10,000 loan, and then I had loads of credit cards that I just juggled. So I was fortunate that's what I had to start with. So I made use of what I had. So I really didn't have, when we first opened, I had no pin select machines. The plate loadable machines I had was basically a 45-degree hyperextension that I'd bought for the old unit. And if I think back, I don't even think I had any. In fact, I bought a hack squat. So one of the first machines I actually had was an old hack squat.
Right.
I remember that.
Aye.
The blue.
Yeah, it was chucked out the side of the gym. So it wasn't my favourite piece ever. But
a gym graveyard on the side of that building.
Gym graveyard, yeah. But there's been so many changes and transitions, constant, that a lot of people haven't seen. So there has. But at that point, it wasn't meant to go the way it has.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So obviously 1.0 came around, you found your feet with that, you started developing. After that, you had the opportunity for 2.0 to become a thing. How did that come around, and more importantly, how did we now get to where we are now with the gym?
Jeez. I know, I can't believe
a lot of stress and spending money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get stressed, if I'm being honest.
No, you don't, do you?
No, I thrive in chaos, 100%. I get stressed when things are too easy.
I like there's something wrong here. This isn't hard enough.
Yeah. I'm at peace. What's this all about?
I really noticed that. And we're going to talk about that when we're talking about your kind of mindset. The day 3.0 was opening, and me and Neil were standing outside, and the people that were meant to be doing the job for a certain thing were stressed out, and you're telling them, we'll sort it, calm down. Probably the people who are actually meant to be executing the job will be the ones like, no, don't worry, calm down. You're going to them, aye, we'll sort it. You're just looking about as if like, I've done all of this in under like nearly a month. This is this is nothing.
Yeah, I think there's a way you can see that from a stress perspective. If you can control the environment, if you can't control it, if you can control it, change it. If you can't control it, learn to manage it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that comes from
It comes from your mindset as well, you know. So just being like, I'm jumped. I've lost my train of thought there. So go back to
2.0.
2.0. Where do we go from there? So the unit that I originally was going to take, so that is what's 2.0.
Yes.
The group training area.
Yeah, in the training area. So with 2.0, it was vacant for the whole time that I'd opened the first unit. And I did say to Jan, I was like, listen, Anne, do me a favour. If anyone asks or inquires about that unit, message me straight away and I'll take it.
Yep.
Because units are hard to come by to start with, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I just didn't have the capital to take it at that point.
Yep.
So, and once you lose a unit, getting it back is going to be a nightmare. So sometimes you just have to. I like to
Phone your mom.
That's worst case scenario.
What a woman she is.
What a woman she is.
She's
Incredible.
a star. She is.
Yeah. All my life, I like to dive in head first, and then I ask questions later. That's just the kind of the way I do everything.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? So I think obviously there's certain skills that you need to have in order to do specific things. I think if you don't have those skills, you can work really, really hard. You know, so I'm now in that kind of mindset where I'll just outwork myself until I make it happen.
Comes good.
So that's my golden rule. So with that, I think it was September 2019 when we opened, so it was just over 1 year when we got 2.0. Now, the original unit had the same as it has just now. It's got a 15 by 2.
That's all right.
You can edit them out.
So the original unit that we have just now, so the original unit had the same as we have just now, the 15 by 2 Astro track.
Yep.
So we, at that point, ran a lot of classes as well. So we do classes just now, but we were known for being predominantly a group training gym. So I did my personal training from there, built the first gym up from having classes, basically. And we used to run the classes on the track while people were using the equipment. And then when we got 2.0, we decided to make that a solely for the group training. And then the other side was going to be purposely for the gym itself.
Yeah.
So then the 15 by 2 track became like a 12 by 2, 10 by 2, and then we just took it away all together. We had the upstairs as well. The upstairs, for even going back to, this is back before COVID. So we had upstairs at the time, it was an office, and we used to have a ping pong table in it.
Need to get it back out, man.
I know. We still
sick.
got it. We still
Right.
got it. It's Amanda and Gordon's pool table. Pool table. So it's Amanda and Gordon's ping pong table. So we still actually have it in the group training area. But anyway, there was that upstairs, and we used to have couches in that upstairs as well. So after your training, you could go upstairs, sit on the couch, chill out. There was a guitar there as well. If you knew how to play, you could
Maybe we
play
should
that.
have a lock-in in the gym.
I know, man.
We've got everything you need.
Ping pong, karaoke, guitar.
A lot of people don't know that either, but we used to have a yearly party. So we used to have a 1 year anniversary party where
I didn't know
we
this.
would have a whole day where we would have classes running. So we'd maybe run 4 classes during the day. Then from 2 o'clock, everyone went away and all the members came back with alcohol, and we had a full spread out. I'd always get a DJ on, and I would always put a buffet on for all the members. And we had that every year up to
2
can't
years ago. 2 years
I
ago.
can't remember the last one. But it's funny though, because the bigger the gym got, the quieter the parties became.
Is
But
that
we used to have them quite a lot as well.
with the way the gym is now,
Every
is that something you're trying to build back up?
Yeah, I just think that would change anyway now.
Yeah.
You know, I doubt that. If anything, I have thought about. I know we're jumping away, but I'll just go through it quickly. I have really thought about having like a yearly weekend event where I always thought about having, okay, well, what kind of style of gym do we have just now? So powerlifting, bodybuilding, high rocks, and then like different flexibility classes. So I thought, why not get a guest speaker for each?
Oh, that would be
Style.
sick, mate. That sounds well good.
Yeah, so I have spoke to a few people in those
Yeah.
areas in the past, and my idea was to have a weekend yearly event, and then what I was going to do is with the coaches we have as well, maybe have like a coaching hour, so like all of us could be sitting and people could be asking us questions and that, and then I thought about having like a workshop. One day could be like a workshop day as well, so you'd come in 1 hour, you'd go through a deadlifting tutorial workshop or like things like that. So that
Truth or
was
dare with Tony Moran Fitness.
I know he's like, yes, come in. But that is something that I did think, because like a lot's changed now.
Yeah.
And not just from the community point of view, we still have a massive community, but we've got loads of small communities in a very much larger scale.
100%.
It's not just like one community anymore. There's like 4 or 5 that can all come together.
Yes.
But they're in like
Their own kind of subsections and everything.
Yeah,
I know, I
that's
get that.
yeah.
It's like one big massive friend group and there's always just a wee groups kind of within it.
Exactly. You look at the gym just now, and that's what you see when you walk in. It's like everyone's always communicating that together as well. So, but what we did then is we just knocked 2 holes in the middle wall straight through, and we ran the classes in that side, and then, as I said, the gym in the other. Now, yeah, and as I've also mentioned, that we were predominantly a group training gym at that point, and when COVID came, I think I had 200 members by the time COVID had came. And I was fortunate enough to keep about 60% of my members
amazing,
through the
mate.
whole of COVID, right? At that same point, though, we were working hard at the same time for that. I mean, we did all, I kept every class on. I did Zoom classes in the middle of the gym all the way through it. I kept all my PT on as well. So you do Zoom or FaceTime, and you'd be personal training your clientele from there.
Yep.
And when we reopened for COVID, just before it, we had obviously got a lot of like you get the bounce back loan schemes and so forth as well, and I didn't spend any of the money. I mean, even all through that, I was adding gym equipment every month from I first opened until COVID. So everything I made, basically, I would just pay my bills and live on what I needed. Basically, I mean, I didn't even have a bed in my house when I first.
That's insane, mate.
I mean, like even at that point as well, and like I didn't even have that. I didn't have any money. Where my mum even bought my first fridge, because I'm just like that. I didn't have a fridge for months.
I'm just like that. I didn't have
For months. No, it's just one of those things.
I would have preferred a knotless explode.
It's just one of those things that. So
You can sit my mince and top it up. That's great.
I don't know. That's the way I am. So getting to COVID, and I thought, when we reopen, let's make it a big, like as if a grand reopening. So I'd kept a lot of money. I think by that point I'd actually had about 50,000 from either the loans or saving money, and I kept it quiet, making all the changes. But what I did was I took the office away upstairs, and I made that all one floor. And then you maybe.
That's mental to think. I'm just going back to that. Like, obviously, I wasn't in the gym at that point. But
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. So, obviously, the mezzanine's there now, but it used to be obviously up to the left, right beside the hole in the wall, and that was a full office up there.
Aye, so you would go to the side, and the stairwell would lead up.
And
You remember the stairwell, because we knocked the hole through there, didn't we? So the stairwell would go up, and then there'd be a massive office space, and then the left-hand side of that, there was like, I don't want to say veranda. Is it veranda thing with doors?
All right, okay, like ones that...
Bifolding.
What are they called?
Bifolding doors.
Aye. Anyway, it was doors going out.
Joiners are watching us, how fucking dicks.
So it was doors going out to 2 couches, as I said, and a table. So I decided, thought, I'm going to hang off until the last month, and then just build up a big... just build up the height, basically.
Yep.
And we'd knocked down the office space, and I'd got quite a few new pieces of equipment as well. What I started doing was I started filling the office spaces with machines. I think at that point we'd got the Cybex VR2 leg extension, the red AB knee deductor, which isn't with us anymore. Watson, I can't even remember half the stuff we got. I also got that was when we got the steel dumbbells at that point as well.
Yeah.
But when we opened back up, we went from like 100 members straight away to like 250.
That's class.
Aye. When we opened up though, remember you weren't allowed to be in groups.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't allowed to keep put any classes on at this point. So we still ran the Zoom classes for people who wanted to take part in the classes. But because of that, a lot of people, when they were coming into the gym, they couldn't do the classes, so they had to go into the gym floor.
Yeah.
And use these machines that you've obviously invested in.
Yeah, that a lot of people didn't know about, because even through social media times, we were only advertising the classes.
Yep.
We were doing, if you go back, and then it would be tutorials, because the tutorials would be one, showcasing the equipment, hopefully showcasing me as a PT at the same time, and showing the gym, or showing people the gym as well.
Yep.
So when people come in, they just kind of like, that's actually quite a good gym.
Did you always know about gym? Like, have you always had an interest in gym equipment, or did that become a thing as you got your own gym? Or
It became a thing as I got a gym. When I got my gym, obviously that's a learning process, like over the years, basically.
Yeah.
Like I never 8 years ago going, right, okay, I know how to explode shoulder press.
aye,
So I didn't really have that mindset, you know. But part of my learning as a personal trainer was I was heavily into like biomechanics and human movement, and like having a good understanding of joint function, and then learning how to load the function and load specific patterns. I had a good idea of equipment that I'd used in other gyms, so I knew what things felt nice to use and I knew what things didn't. And then I started learning about machines and the cams, how they work, and like strength profiles and resistance profiles, and learning all that from other people on the internet, basically. And one thing from my gym perspective, and the difference when we first opened, was I'd learned a lot of things from commercial facilities that I didn't like, and I wanted to build a gym in a community that I felt a commercial gym couldn't create.
yeah,
In an absolute nutshell. I even remember at DW, they used to call the weight area, the dumbbell area, the guys bit. You know, because it was just one, it was full of men, but like no disrespect to a lot of them, but they weren't very welcoming. Not like our gym, obviously, as well.
Yep.
And I did initially want to have more of a female dominant gym, and because I just felt that was one thing that was lacking around about the area, obviously, as well. Most of my clients were actually female. So just a couple of things that when we first got the equipment in, we did make it more like we had more leg equipment than really anything else.
Yep.
I was at that point kind of more heavily into the kind of glute training side of things. As I said, I did work with a lot of female clientele. We kept the weights low, like just up to 40 kg, you know, just to kind of shift the balance of the gym in one direction, and then start
gradually pulling it together, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like that idea.
Getting different clientele in. One thing, I mean, we didn't even have, when we first opened, didn't even have a single treadmill or nothing.
Yeah, that's mad.
That is mad.
Stevie.
And you've told me there's a reason for that, wasn't there? And it is, again, intentionally you wanted to break the stigma of what maybe the commercial gyms gave of you go in here if you want to do that, particularly for women. Maybe at that time it was women do cardio, men's area is the weightlifting bit. Did you intentionally maybe not add the treadmills and do that bit to maybe see, oh, wait a second, this can be really beneficial for you?
So the goal of the gym initially was to provide a service for every single individual that came into the door, came through the door.
Yep.
Right. With that, I mean, you could argue that I was the level 2 in the gym. So obviously I was the manager, the cleaner. I mean, when we first opened, me and my mum were the cleaners. I know, but me and my mum came and gave me a hand to clean the gym, and it was me. We were both the cleaners at the time. So I was the level 2 as well, but I wanted to provide a place where everything was educational based. Like, why is strength training beneficial to you? One of the other main reasons why is because if you look at commercial gyms, one thing they have pretty much most of is cardiovascular equipment. And I think mainly the reason for that is for traffic.
Yeah.
Right, so if you've got a really, really, really busy gym floor and you're maybe a little bit intimidated or you can't go on your machine you're looking for, you'll go, right, okay, I'll just jump on the treadmill for 5-10 minutes. If you're potentially a little bit more intimidated or you're just starting your fitness journey and maybe lacking a bit of confidence and you go to the area that people call the guys bit, all you're going to do is go, right, okay, well, I'll go to the treadmill.
I've even seen myself do that, mate, when I started training. Aye.
And then somebody's training, they're going, do you know, I feel everybody's looking at me. And it's the person that's on the treadmill really
wants to be where you are, and are
so motivated by what you're doing there, but they don't know where to go next. So obviously the goal for us, it wasn't like cardio and treadmills are bad for you and these different things. It was more just a case of, well, this is kind of my methodologies to exercise, and I just wanted to make sure that people could learn how to strength train. And
it eliminates, we all know how bad gym anxiety can be, of knowing, see if all the treadmills are taken, you are very well and capable, male or female, to walk over any machine, and that's always a standard you set for the gym and using it and being confident, and no matter where you go in the world, you have that level of knowledge, which I think everyone should have, because we both know, there's know that how good strength training is, how good cardiovascular training is, and you need a combination of both.
I mean, even the layout, it took, I'd say maybe 4 or 5 years before I started having designated
moving things.
Yeah, no, that was a constant. That was a constant. But it took about 4 or 5 years before I started making sections, like having the leg equipment in one place and that, because I purposely made everything mixed, so people had to interact and train with each other and so forth. So basically I took the extension model that I had with the power rack, the TRX and the band inside of it, or at the sides of each one, and then like the bench and the dumbbells and so forth, and I had them in that, so you could train 2-3 exercises back to back. You had the option of working in with people, and that was my original intention, was to have that. So it took a long time before I started, as I said, putting leg area, push. Even from a treadmill perspective, it was actually Stevie, your client, who was like, can we get a treadmill? I'm like, no. Go outside, no. But then I punished him and got the Primal Strength curved one. But that was the first piece of cardio equipment we had, was a curve runner.
Right.
No.
So it was. But
cranking back up.
It's still there, hanging on by a dear thread, isn't it?
So obviously, I know a huge part of the gym for you was creating this community. It was also a place for you to have your loved ones there, your pet, which is something that you didn't have as well at your commercial gym. I remember when I first came up to yours, I used all this equipment, and we had a bit of a debate. Like, you knew what good equipment was, but you couldn't really go anywhere in Glasgow and use really good bits of kit. Well, it's not what it is now. So I would maybe say you've got 3 or 4 people that have kind of really led the way the last maybe 5-6 years of setting a standard of good kit. You certainly are one of them, because like I said, I came in the first time and I was like, holy shit, like, this stuff is incredible. This is the stuff you'd maybe get in abroad, or the people that, but it's huge in America to go and use. Your intentions behind that, obviously you started buying good stuff in, things progressed from there. Did you reach a point where it was like, right, now 3.0 is a thing, or did that just naturally happen as well? Or were you always pressing to get this bigger and bigger?
So I think we were coming to a point where we'd outgrew the layout of the old gym.
Because this is the bit that most of our listeners now will know JP's gym for. People travel from all over. They were doing that at 2.0 as well, to come and try, which is other gyms as well in Glasgow, some of the best equipment possible. But you've obviously want to ramp that up a few levels, as you have been doing.
Yeah, I mean, my purpose behind the equipment that I had, basically, or I do have, was I've never been a fan of just filling a space.
Yep.
So one, with the money I had available at the time, it wasn't a lot. So a lot of things were very, very cheap, and most things were second hand that I was getting initially. So I always had the mindset of the machine itself has to meet the needs of as many different individuals as possible.
Yep.
Every piece. So whether it's the adjustability, whether it's how much resistance, whether it's the starting resistance of the machine. You know, some machines you can, like, let's use a T-bar row for instance. There's not very many T-bar rows that are less than, say, maybe 15 pounds or kilos starting weight.
Yeah.
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 The Precor one, I think, is about 7.5 kg.
Mm-hmm.
So that, from a newbie to the gym, basically is looking to develop strength. It's a good starting point.
Yep.
And if machines are really comfortable to use, it encourages people to use them.
Yep.
Beautiful big pad on that Precor one.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that just crush your chest.
That's what I'm saying. It's just
Get a wee nap on that thing.
a great piece of equipment. And it got a lot cheaper at the time versus how much it started to become.
I was going to say it's quite sought after now, isn't it?
Yeah. Even the Cybex Smith, the 3rd gen,
Yes.
is a 7.5 kg
Bar.
counterweight bar.
Aye.
Yeah. Whereas a lot of the starting weights are really high.
Yep.
So obviously that intention was there as well. Because again, if people are encouraged to use machines, then obviously it's going to be better for them. If you look at it from a clientele perspective, some things that I would look at from a coaching point of view is like how well they can move. So for instance, you'll go to a class environment, in the class, say like body pump, and you've got 20 people using a barbell and they're bent over rows and they all look like pooping dogs.
Dogs.
Shitting dog posture, as they call it. Right? Yeah, I know, but then you look at that and you break that down and think, well, obviously from a back perspective, there's not a lot of stimulation going on there because they're spending too much time in a hinge position, so they maybe don't have that strength available yet to be there.
Yep.
So a good machine will take away your limitations to allow you to focus on the muscles you're trying to target. So from a beginner perspective, if you look at pin select machines, if you look at a seated row, for instance, right? So you've got Jane, you're teaching to do bent over rows because you're like, machines suck, you know. So I'm going to make you use a barbell because whole body movements are the way forward, or free weights are the way forward, you know. But then Jane wants a nice back.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and Jane's not getting a great workout in her back because she's not really learning how to coordinate the move properly. So if I could eliminate two factors that are causing that to happen, so spine and hips, then she's going to be able to execute the exercise a lot better. So if you put her on the Cybex row, for instance, and I've said 3 Cybex, right? But you put her on the Cybex row, you've now got a seat, you've now got a chest support, and that's going to allow her to be more stable, to focus on the muscles she's trying to target, right? You look at a squat, for instance, or any movement, I would always look at 3 things that might limit how somebody can perform the exercise. So it could be limb length in the position you're trying to get them in, so the length of the bones and so forth. It could be injuries. So if they have an injury, then that's going to be a limitation, obviously, as to how they can move, and you might have to work around that. And then the third could be central nervous system. Somebody's actual mindset getting into the exercise and getting into the gym floor. So if you've got somebody that's quite nervous, for instance, and you come in and go, right, okay, let's learn squats, and they're like, that could be a limiting factor as to
why they can't do it.
Exactly. Let's bring a leg press in, and we could say, okay, what's going to be better for that member or client, the leg press or just continuing with squats? Obviously, getting someone confident to squat body weight or with a free weight and so forth is going to be handy and beneficial. But getting them on a leg press, if somebody wants to build strong legs, is probably going to be another addition into the training as well. So to suggest something is better or worse, for instance, you know, it just gives you a different mindset as to why you would have a leg press.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Something that you've taught me incredibly well. If anyone knows the amount of courses and stuff that you've done, you are, in my regards, one of the smartest people in the fitness industry I know. And that's not me blowing up smoke up your arse.
I'm in fire.
See, all the courses and everything I've done or anything I've kind of paid real attention to are people at the very top of this industry. They tends to be a kind of trend I see happening as well. They don't deal in absolutes because they all come back to the thing that you say, it depends. And you need to remember, each individual's totally different, and you can't put, even if the way you train got you the results, there can't be a bias to one thing, because, like I always said, that told me as well, look, we're not working with robots, and you have to accommodate people the way you have, whether that's environment, skill level, all these things are important. It's something that you've done really, really well, and I've seen it when obviously you coached. More importantly, I've seen it how you actually built your gym, and that's probably what makes a gym what it is.
One thing I've always said from day dot is the members make the gym. In an absolute nutshell.
Yep.
So the members are what make the place what it is, basically. And if you start any business focusing on the needs of every individual, then you'll create something organic and that'll cater for loads of different people, basically.
Yeah.
Do you know? And that was always the intention, to provide an environment, a comfortable environment. I remember I used to ask my clients at the time, before, like when I'd spoke to the personal trainer in DW and I decided to form a gym, during that time, I was talking to my clientele and I'd mentioned to them that I was going off on my own, and they were so excited because they loved or preferred training in my house.
Yep.
They preferred that kind of environment. Like, at that point, I was teaching Caleb at the same time, because he was a puppy at the time, obviously, and I would have him, he'd had his own like mat at the side, and then I would train my client, and he wasn't allowed to leave the mat until we finished, and then I'd say to the client, like, okay, now it's time we give him a big reward, and you know, so that was the kind of way it was. And as I've already said, like every client I had get in there just preferred that environment, unless you had other clients that were competing in bodybuilding and that as well at the time. So I thought, well, let's try and create that in a bigger scale, you know. And I've just always had that the members make the gym mentality, you know, and you need to meet the needs of. That was basically our mission, was just to meet the needs of every individual that walked in the door.
I think you've absolutely smashed that, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, you've done well.
You know what I mean?
Obviously, you
Really?
2.0 hit such great heights. You being the John Paul I know, need another. You put a mezzanine in, and I thought, oh right, he's recovering, because I notice every time you do something, like I said, you go all in, and it nearly takes the life out of you, but you always get the job done. So the mezzanine went up in 2.0, daft ass here, moved all the machines about, and then you came, put your arm around me and said, we're getting another unit.
So you just want to know.
What did I do? I booked a holiday, went to Dubai.
So did the followers want to know how that came around?
Yeah.
Yes, I want you to tell us how it came around.
Tell how it came around,
Tell us
right.
intentions behind it. Tell us how you roped me into fucking bringing all the machines down again.
Right. So
No, you actually moved the day to the gym that we're moving in. I went, right, I've got away with this one. I'm in Dubai for the opening week, which I'm gutted about, but at the same time, I don't need to hump all these machines about. He's like, don't worry about it. We're going to open just a wee week later, so you'll be back.
So those who don't know Tony Moran, right? Tony's just this humble lad that you don't even need to ask to do anything. He's just there, in a nutshell, sir. So
Thank you.
I don't even know what else I would say there. You know, you're just always there.
Just like
when you
lifting
need you.
things.
I know, but in a nice respect, you know,
Yep.
you're always there. You know what I mean? So you've been a massive help since you came in, and it's obviously an honour to have you work with us in the gym. Just want to say that too. And Tommy, I love you too.
Thanks, mate. Love you.
I can't leave you out, even though you've not put my t-shirt on.
Mate, I need to get washed. I wear them every day training, man.
That's his
Tommy
90 as
doesn't
well.
have his JP's gym t-shirt on today. Right, so back to how 3.0 happened then. Space has always been a limiting factor in the original units. We all know that. And it was getting to the point where we couldn't fit anything else in the building, basically, right? So I thought, right, let's extend the mezzanine. And then the original plan, I had done a reel on it as well, was to add a second mezzanine into the second unit, basically. So the idea I had in my head was it would be a clone of the main gym area.
Yes.
And you'd have like a knock-in wall at the top where you can just kind of go in this kind of, I always had this idea of a big circle.
Right.
So you could basically go through, if you've been in the gym, you'll come in and you could go through the left-hand side and walk all the way around through the back, and it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
The same upstairs as well. So that was the initial plan, and I'd booked the mezzanine to get installed on the 2nd of January this year. Yep. So I did, right. So with that, I was quite content with what we had in fact, no, I'm lying, I wasn't content with the original. So we're kind of at the point where it was either making the decision long term if I am happy with what the gym has, the size and so forth, and just stop there, or if I move the gym to another location, because that was always another idea as well, because I was at the point where I'd outgrown the gym, basically. I'd outgrown the units massively. So I was walking Caleb at this point one day, and my landlord came out the new unit 3.0. So we're talking about, there's a building across from us, basically owned by the council. Yeah. It's massive and it's kind of condemned, right? But they had this massive bit of parking, basically. So we were talking away, and he was saying, "Do you know that council building's now went up for sale?" And I'm like, right, okay. And they were giving us he was telling me the price of it. It says we were looking at it, but the roof's condemned. It's full of all sorts of nasty things, basically. And I was like,
shithole.
Aye. So the roof would have to get completely redone. But the parking, because we've always had an issue with parking, I thought, I'm going to phone the council and ask them if I could rent that space for parking. So I had phoned the council. They'd asked me to send them in an email, basically inquiring about it. And then, I don't know if it was later that day, I thought, I was still talking to the landlord, and he mentioned something else. He says, we've just put this unit up for let. So we're just in there now, clearing it out and painting it and so forth. I'm like, right, cool. And I looked at it, but I didn't see it.
You never visioned what it is, kind of now?
Not really. Right. And I went my walk, basically. If I jump over here. I can't remember when I've definitely inquired about the council building first. Then, next day. So, so the next day, it was the next day, because I was thinking it was a walk
I thought
again.
about it for 8 hours.
So it was a spontaneous thing again. Right? It was, but it was same thing.
I wouldn't wait that long to do something.
It's the same thing. I was taking Caleb out a walk. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go in and have a look at it. And I went in and had a look at it, and I'm like, all right, okay. And the guys, there was guys in painting
guys
it.
didn't get to move out.
There was guys in painting it, right? And I swear this is exactly what it said. So guys in painting it, and these guys work for the landlord. And I was just talking away, and he says, "We're going to have to stop painting, are we?" Genuinely, that's right. I walked around and looked at it. I'm like, wow, this is
right.
Okay, this is pretty decent, And when I was walking around, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. The guy's like, "We're going to have to stop painting, aren't we?" And I'm like, I don't know. And I went away. I went back to the gym. I definitely at that point made a phone call to the landlord as well. And basically at that point I says, "Listen, I'm going to take that unit."
Aye.
And I tell a lie. I went in and had a look. I went in and had a look at it. And I was just talking to the guys in it. I'd went away, phoned the landlord, told her, "Listen, stop painting it. I'm going to take it."
Aye.
And then I went back in the afternoon, and the guys went, "You want us to stop painting, don't you?" I says, "Aye, I'll paint the rest."
Oh man, what are you like?
And that was November.
That was go time then.
That was November, and I'd moved in December 2nd. I think it was halfway through November.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Obviously,
I think maybe 3 weeks.
Right.
And I
that
moved in
decision
December 2nd.
happened, and you took me up and you showed me that gym, and what would be the gym again? Shithole. But that had so much stuff to get done in it. There's more oil on the floor than there was. You could see the floor, but
right.
you seen that and you seen for what it could be. And I think, listen, you always have my respect for how well and efficiently you work, but you made a decision there which was, some people don't, we still don't appreciate how much you've done in that month, but you obviously came out and you said, I'm going to have this open in a month.
Mate, that honestly, we spoke about this, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. That was insane. Like, that was actually mental, mate, that you done that, like,
30
in such
days
a
to build a
short
gym.
period, mate. It was just like, boom.
Well, everybody, we know what it is to build anything worth having, and
Yep.
it's not 30 days, but there's this side of you that is just so relentless, and it's, again, why we've got you sitting here just now. But I want you to talk about, look, what that took, what that gave you. Why did you think, I'm doing this in 30 days? Was it just because you wanted to prove something to yourself, or was it just, had you got to a stage where I am capable enough that I can do this and I believe in myself enough?
So a couple of things to touch on.
Mm-hmm.
One honest answer is having to pay for the unit straight away.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, even from a personal point of view, like, there's a certain investment at the start, and then you're paying rent off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So the rent is thousands, obviously. So that could go towards more equipment. So the quicker I can get in, get everything done, get opened, the quicker I can start putting the money
Yeah. Back
in, basically, right? So that was the first, one of the first points. Second, I'd been there before,
Mm-hmm.
and even up to then, I was constantly growing the gym. So
Yeah.
there's never really been I would say the year before, I was starting to make, 2 years before, I was starting to make different choices on where I wanted to go gym-wise or myself-wise. I wasn't always trying to continually improve what I had. So, obviously, as I said, it was a case of wanting to get in and get it done as quickly as possible. I think I've already said this, but I've been there. So repeat myself. I've been there before, so I kind of know where I need to go.
Yeah. Yep.
If you've been that wee bit content, did you feel that, was there something that made you go, nah, something's got to spark up in me again, I know what I'm capable of?
I think it was the end goal.
Yeah.
Like, knowing the potential of what was going to happen at the end of the month.
Did that level out at some point? Were you just quite happy? Because I think at some point you were just, I won't say you were chilled, but you were in a wee bit of peace, and then you just went, boom.
Do you mean before I started doing the new unit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd accepted. Obviously, the unit was a surprise. That wasn't intentional. I didn't know it was going to be available, basically. So, as I said, I was kind of at the point where I was starting to accept where I could take the gym.
Yep.
Without having to move somewhere completely different and run the risk of losing, like, it maybe completely taking off or doing the polar opposite, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of at that point. As I said, though, I knew I'd been there before, so I kind of knew the mindset I had to go into to get it done in that time. I'm a firm believer in you get what you put in. So if I've set myself, obviously there's certain targets that can just be ridiculously unreachable.
Yes.
So obviously there's been something there that I've set myself maybe a limitation as to maybe what I could achieve in that time. I know you don't believe me, do you? Right. So I just decided, I thought, okay, 30 days. I knew roughly how long it would take to build the first one. The first one took me a month.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd moved into the first one in May and I was open for June 2nd.
Yep.
So that was the goal again. 30 days to build a gym. I know. But this time, I knew, one thing I learned this time was to have an empty space, an empty shell to build on. Whereas before, I basically tried to fit everything into what was currently there, which long term was a disaster. Even how I did the gym before, when I'd painted it and so forth, it was done while the gym was open.
Yep.
So I had an idea just going, right, okay, a month, and then I would just work as many hours as I needed to do to build it. Now, the first week was basically a case of taking there was offices in it. I don't know if a lot of people seen that, but so I had a hammer and a crowbar and basically ripping offices apart. I was very fortunate. Laura was, I think Laura was, she was off. She had a bit of annual leave at that point, so she was amazing that week as well, giving
Forced annual leave.
I know, but no, she was absolutely amazing through that whole first month. So she was giving me a wee hand the first week, taking some of the stuff down or helping me. She's basically clearing the floor for me as I was taking the building down. And then she was walking Caleb for me in the afternoons and stuff as well. While I was, so I would I'd go in from 6 a.m. and I would be there till 10, 11 p.m. every day.
I remember the night you came to the charity do, like the one that we had over at Motherwell, and it was you and Laura. I was like, what you be doing today? And you're like, I've been left there maybe like an hour ago. Like I've been there the whole day, literally. And this was at like 8 o'clock.
So it's a shame you can't put photos up on the podcast, but if you can see it in the video. But there was offices around the whole back of the gym basically, and on top was a mezzanine as well. Now I would have kept that up there, but the offices were just too large to the floor space up top, so you couldn't really stand up on it basically, so it was a bit of a nightmare. So the full first week was basically a case of ripping all that out, and I pretty much done, obviously I had a great hand from my good friend Gordon, and Laura helped me through that as well that whole time. I'd pretty much done most of it myself.
Very minimal stuff. Look for probably a company would come in and use machines to bring that. You were using
I was using that
hammer for Monopoly
and a crowbar that size.
Christmas cracker spanner, and away you went.
Like no joke. So I have documented every day that, and I have done a reel for every day on Instagram and TikTok for if people want to go back and have a look at that. But that was, from a working perspective, that's some of the hardest stuff. I mean, even from the old gym, like we never used to have a fob entry system, so I was there, and we've never had a staff member apart from cleaners, and everyone's been self-employed. So we've never had a staff member since I first opened, because everything everything I made has always went straight back in the best I possibly can. But I was used to, we opened at 6 a.m. and I closed at 9:30 every night, so I was there from 6 a.m. to 9:15, and then I would ask like Amanda or someone else to stay while I would nip away and get some food or take Caleb out for a walk, and that was all the time. You got to night time, I didn't even have probably the best piece of equipment I have is a steamer. You know, I know, mate, but try mop my 6,000 square foot floor.
That sounds
so every night, an hour plus. So you were there 10, 10:30. And then what I would do is I would maybe still be renovating, so I'd be painting after that, and I'd be painting like the walls to 2, 3 in the morning with nobody there on a big ladder, and then so I remember the old locker room. With the couch. There used to be a couch in that, and it used to be just a storage room. So I would genuinely just sleep in there, basically.
That's mental.
And then
you are the Scottish Alex Hormozy, aren't you? If you know that story, how he used to sleep in his own gym.
Obviously, the point of going home. I mean, that's why I thought it was good getting a camper van as well, because I would just.
You probably better on the couch because you didn't have a bed in the house, so you thought, comfier here.
I got into a routine. I just sleep on the couch and stuff as well, and then closing the office. I didn't have the office in, and then we moved into the group training. I had my own office, so I would sleep in the office as well and just put the blinds down, and then. Do you justify that? Obviously it's a good idea because it's put you where you are now, but your capacity of work, everything comes with a trade-off. You know that when you say, and like I said, when you said to me that last time after the measuring meeting up, I seen what it done to you physically. You were, pardon the French, fucked. I seen you getting your spring back in your step, but then you were like, nah, it's go time again. That wasn't easy.
No.
I'm not going to lie, that wasn't easy going there. I mean, my life was starting to change a little bit, so that wasn't easy going into that mindset of doing that, because it's not just a 30-day thing. You know, it's going to be beyond that as well. You know, obviously you have to get the gym ready, but then it's never ready. initially. There's always going to be teething problems as well, and there has been ever since we opened. You know, it's not been easy, but
door handles.
Door handles. That's the door handles. Sorry, Jonathan. But going there that time was very, 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 very challenging. But at the same time, like from a balance perspective, maybe jump back a little bit. I had another client that used to say to me, "You're working too much. You're doing this. You're doing that." I was like, Alan, my client, and I'd be happy. Shout out to Alan. How you doing, mate? If he's listening. He's like, you're doing too much, mate, you know, this and that. I says, listen, just relax, you watch this space. And this is before, this was the original
Pressures
unit.
for tyres, jump always got it.
Yeah, I mean, balance is way overrated. And I'll explain that in a second, my thought process. But I says, you should wait. And this was before the fob system and all that as well, you know. So the first 5 years are opening.
Yep.
And then when it got to 5 years, everything seemed to settle and so forth. I didn't have to work as much. It was a self-run gym. So we'd get the fob system in and all that. So I went from working 100-hour weeks for 5 years straight to working an hour if I wanted to.
Yep.
Here and there.
Yep.
Do you know, if I chose to, so it gave me way more freedom to pick back up things that I'd gave up, like guitar, and I started singing again. I got back in a band. I got a partner, you know, so a lot of things that just wouldn't have been possible with those amount of hours that I was doing, basically. So, and just going back to why I think like balance is overrated, I always have like long-term ideas. So if I need to put in everything I've got now, I know it's going to really benefit me long-term. So I'm not always, in fact, no, if I'm being very honest, I'll do whatever it takes to achieve what I want.
Yep.
Like no holds barred. And I know there's a lot of people will say, well, do you not think you're working too much and you need to balance your life and you need to spend time doing this and that, but that'll come to me.
It's also subjective to when you want that and
Or
what you want that to look like.
And I tend to think though that always come from people who are not in the same position as you.
Yeah.
So maybe don't understand how to go there. They don't have that same mindset. Or
That's not wrong, is it? It's just
it's just they're coming from how they live their life and then putting that onto myself. But obviously my life's maybe a little bit different. But long term for me, working as hard as I need to work, there's always a long term end goal that I know's around the corner, basically. If that makes sense.
Aye, it does.
So I'll do whatever it takes now because it's going to come back and it's going to benefit me long term.
That 30 days of, we'll say hell, but just 30 days of graft. You went to that place, you got into that place in your mind. We obviously got to where we are now with the gym, but what did it do for you? Mentally, everything else, and what did it give you more than anything?
So I think anyone who has any career, they have a vision of what their end goal may look like in some way or another. Like you're not always constantly just trying to improve on nothing, you know. So if anything, the new unit is if I had to start, if I had to have an empty floor space, that would be how I would have my floor space.
Yeah.
So it gave me an opportunity to create something that I couldn't create before, that was kind of always in my head. If I had the empty floor space, it would look like the current gym, basically. Yep. So the first month, we were planning to open on January 2nd. The only issue was we're having a lot of problems with getting the bathrooms ready on time. Just basically from when we opened, it was just another unachievable goal due to the amount of work that was required to do so, basically. But if the bathrooms were ready, we would have been opening on the 2nd of January. Yeah. But in hindsight, if I look back, I'm glad that we didn't open because it allowed me to do a lot of things that I kind of rushed in the first month.
Yeah.
Because I was still painting, obviously, the second month as well. Obviously, Caleb had passed on the day before we opened, day before we were meant to open. That was the 1st of January. So that was when I mentioned it was hard getting into the mindset of opening another unit. like reliving. So when Caleb had passed, trying to get back in and go back to work again, because it happened where it happened in the situation, I had to go back in and continue to. So I was painting at the time, basically, and having to go back in that next week and relive that whole day, over and over.
Yeah.
The same lighting, the same empty gym, because at that point I was just in myself basically. Because it helped me so much being there too, because it allowed me to grieve in my own way and continue to work and not sit and sulk. But going through that for those months that last month was a nightmare. But one thing, obviously, if we touch back on it, I'm quite grateful that I had more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, if I look back on it, no matter when it would happen, I would always have pushed the month to get it done.
Yeah.
I'd never change that. That would be always the end goal.
That's something, again, your mindset, which I want to finish this podcast on, because like you said, I think it's incredible. First of all, 3.0 and where it is now, do you have anything to add to that? Like, have you recovered from there? Do you now have a vision of where you want to take it in a couple of months? And then, like I said, I want to talk about your mindset and your ability to work, because I feel for the listeners it's just so important.
So, currently in the process of, so I've decided to keep the original unit, the original 2 units, and I've decided to kind of rebuild the old gym like post-COVID time.
Yeah.
So the gym itself will have, so the old the track's back in. It'll be, I hate saying this, but more a functional fitness area. So it'll be more like tracks. So the track, racks,
Yep.
dumbbells, and then it'll be mostly stuff that you'd find in a group training area. Then the goal is to buy about 20 machines that are very, very close, if not identical, to the ones we currently have in 3.0. So I'm going to just basically buy doublers of them. And then I will refit out, the office space. And then we're moving the kids' classes and the yoga studio to the front. And we're going to reinvent that whole area. So my goal for that was to take out, we've got a big track in there just now, so I'm going to laminate floor that whole area, and then we're going to paint it the same as the current gym, mirrors and so forth. And then that'll free up the back space for all the new equipment basically. So it'll be very similar to the current gym, but you'll have more cardiovascular equipment. So I think the upstairs we're going to turn into a kind of cardio suite, and an area where, if, say for instance, you're doing a high rocks workout, if high rocks workout is down the stairs and you don't want to take part in the class, you can go up the stairs and you can perform it in a smaller area basically.
Just let me know and I'll book a wee holiday for a bit of time.
Sorry mate, I don't need you for that.
During the season.
But that's the goal. That's the goal there. And it's just to
Do you plan on creating like a mini 3.0 in the back of the original unit? Is that essentially kind of the goal in mind with that? Or like something along those lines?
So basically, I love our gym in general. I love the environment. I love all the members that come in. It's an absolute privilege to be around so many amazing human beings every day. No. It really is. But one thing I would like to fill the gap in is, even though we still, from a community perspective, we're very...
Yep.
I just don't want it to go down the route that the commercial gym and have that gap.
Yeah, you're just commercial gym with fancy bits. And
you're just losing, but you lose that level 2, or you lose the... So the goal is to have a smaller version, basically, where you can still interact and
Sweet. That'd be sick.
yeah. I did want to bring back like we call it guided coaching as well. So like a class space where we'd have like myself and some of the other coaches that would maybe be doing hours or 2 hours on the floor, and that would be like providing that gap between, basically. Needing a personal trainer and not having a clue what you're doing. You know, so that was one idea. And
I'm right in saying you're going to sit in an area, stuff like that, and ping pong table.
yes, so the old units basically where the treadmills and that used to be, we're going to create a sitting area there just to mimic the same as the new unit, and a new kitchen area also. And then the goal is saunas in 2026 as well. So much. I've got so many ideas basically. The thought process is like we already had a thriving gym in those 2 units. Now they're just now it's just a ghost town.
Yeah.
You know, and as I said, although the new unit is amazing, there was a lot of people got something really special from the first 2 units.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to kind of...
I think we all did. I mean, there's parts of it that even the person for day dot or the person that walked in 2-3 years into the journey, it's your original JPs, isn't it? It's the bit that...
Space as well, mate.
Yep.
I'll never forget that gym, mate. That gym is literally the gym where I found my love for training. Like, quite literally, mate. Like, we've spoke about it before, with like the Cybex row and stuff like that. Like, that was the first gym I went to, and I was like, whoa, like, this is so different. It's mad, because obviously the perception on Instagram is talking about this, that, and next thing. But for me, without knowledge of any of that, of what anything kit was or anything to do with it, I just went and literally felt it. Was like, whoa.
Were you, sorry,
No, it's
Tom,
fine,
but
mate.
were you aware of what you were doing to the local community? We'll talk about, like I said, there's maybe 3 or 4 people opened up gyms around Glasgow that really set that standard. And things have progressively, at the huge benefit of everyone round about, have been getting better and better. But when, like I said, people travel up from England to come to the gym, people travel up for all over Scotland to come to the gym, was it just that organic growth, or did you anticipate with me putting all this stuff in, you really did set the standard where people talk about the gym and go, he buys the best, he does the best things possible, he has that high standard that, again, that probably has everyone else round about just going, okay, now I need to up my game.
So I've always treated the gym like my house.
Right.
When people come in, they're coming into my home. So that was always a kind of idea on the feeling and the environment.
Are we standing at the door with a guitar?
believe it or not, I used to walk around the unit practicing my electric guitar. But just stuff like that, it's just so random, right? Remember the videos, you'd come in and there'd be a random dog, or you'd be me on the guitar. It'd be something like, not serenading folks, don't worry, you're safe. But I know, but it was just the edge was off it altogether.
Yeah.
Environment wise, I wouldn't say, a lot of people keep saying OCD, right? But I just think I have a certain high standard that I like to meet. I get so much joy out of people being happy in the building.
Yeah.
Like tenfold. Even from a client point of view, you know, seeing people get good results and posting on social media and ranting and raving about how much they love the gym, the environment, the equipment. That's really what it's my purpose of doing, why I'm doing it.
You do, you want to see everyone do well, and that is a trait of yours that I think is brilliant. I've had other gym owners, I've had other people in the industry where maybe, I don't want to be pessimistic, but sometimes people can put you down, but you are so good at helping people, and maybe people that need it more than anything, but the helping hand you give and continue to give is just incredible. Is that something that you never want to lose in yourself? Because I see it every day. I mean, there's been times where you've helped me with my training, you've helped clients, you've helped members.
Okay.
Like I said, the depth of your knowledge is incredible. You will spend 45 minutes with somebody helping them to the best you can, and like I said, it's stuff that people pay thousands of pounds to go and learn.
I don't charge any money anymore.
No. That's that'll be niche for you to get into, sir.
I think was that last week I was with somebody for about an hour and a half. But it's just one of those things. I think Pablo Coelho, The meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away.
Rate that, mate. That's class.
That's all I want to say there.
Yep.
And I've had that quote since I first started
Never lost it,
PT,
have
and I've
you?
never lost it now.
No.
And that's the thing. At the end of the day, it's just
May I add, no matter what.
no
was
matter what
happening-
cost, no, that's it.
Whatever's happening in your life, whatever shit you've had to deal with, you've had times when you're down and you think whatever, but you've always came in and gave the best you can, because that's, like you said, it's your home and you set that standard. Obviously we spoke to where 3.0's become, where it's going. Like I said, what makes JP tick? Because we know you've got your morals, your rules. What's some rules of life that JP has, and what does it take to have the mindset and drive that has got you to this point? Because I think from a listening point of view, it's incredible. It sets a standard. I've seen it myself. You've brought me on so much. You've brought so many people on. Such a positive impact to so many people that you probably don't even know, mate. But what's behind it all? What makes you... What does it take to be John Paul Bryce?
A lot of beep. I think if I had one rule to sum up the rules of rules, it's just to be aware of everyone round about you. In an absolute nutshell, I think if you can, consider everyone round about you. I think with that mentality, if you get into like a gym or like a coffee shop, or you're on just anywhere,
Yep.
you know, if you have that, just be aware of the people around you.
It's just that kind of treat people the way you want treated yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about all the annoying icks in the gym and so forth, like plates or
Folding
peeing on the
mats.
toilet seat.
You don't have it me for, is it?
No, just
I'm on about it.
just be aware of you're not the only person on
Yeah.
this planet.
Yeah.
You know, and being aware of your surroundings and being aware of, or being courteous of people around you, one, will make you a fantastic human being, but you really don't need any other rules, I don't think, because you'll just always be courteous.
Yep.
You'll just think ahead. You know, I think I think a lot of people tend to, and I know a lot of people can be in certain mindsets and they can be in a lonely place, but everything's all one way. You know, if like the gym's a good example of that. You'll come in and it's your workout, you know, and you're just in your own headspace, and that's fine. But not everyone's in that same headspace as you. Like my mum in her 70s, she's not hardcore bodybuilder or powerlifter, or she just wants to come in and tone and do some strength exercise and talk to me and go home. So who am I to turn and say, excuse me, pal, get off that? You know? So I think just if you can have that mindset of just being aware of your surroundings, and as I said, you know, courteous of other people, you'll go far. I think with everything. What's it take to be me? I don't
Old
think.
chickens and guitars,
That's
mate.
your... That's the moral side of it. What about the work ethic? Because I believe constantly you have this, just as an individual, a capacity to work. Are you, every time, I think everybody's got maybe a tap out or a reason to develop, grow, so you can have that capacity to work a bit more. I think every time you do ask, am I a believer in God or just the world in general, you'll get hit with something back. Life will throw something at you. But people need this constant capacity to grow, and I would, for the way you've spoke today, your capacity is beyond what some people would even comprehend or even want. What does that come? Does that come at a cost?
It's very... So this could be like another podcast. I mean, like, I'm not going to lie and say that level of high standards and work and drive could potentially come at a cost, and I can get lost in myself.
Yep.
So we can relate that to anything in life, whether it be from a work point of view or from a eating perspective or exercise. sometimes you have to question the need to do certain things as well. Like if I'm maybe working for 12, 15 hours, is there something else there that's my reason for doing what I'm doing?
Yes.
That's a tricky one because I could get lost in that, and if I'm being really honest, I don't know how to really
I think
explain that. But what I would say is always be prepared to outwork yourself.
and the doubt that comes with it.
Yeah, because it's like Dan John's quote, "Can you go?" And it's what I mean by that is when it matters the most. And it's not just from a work point of view, it's when work comes a calling, when a pet a parent comes a calling, or a partner or a friend, or there's curveballs or anything, like, can you go? And I don't even just mean that from a work point of view, because I could do that, I could flip that and say, oh, I'm glorifying work. But say something happens to someone that I really care about, can I flip and go there?
Yeah.
And I think that's what really makes you a special human being. So that's what I was trying to say with the confusion, be aware about, because I could, but that's maybe other things that I've went through in the past and I'm using as coping mechanisms, and I can use it as an excuse to go, I'm doing it for the gym. Whereas obviously there's going to be underlying reasons as to why I can put myself into that dark place. Like, suffering's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't bother me.
We spoke about this before, how what is suffering and what comes from it. This is your analysis, I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, this is just something for like listeners as well, but do we believe that all joy comes from some form of suffering?
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, even if you think about where you are today, even as a human being or financially, in some time or another, someone's had to suffer to get you. Like, think of the parent who gave up their dreams to raise their absolute love of their life, you know?
Yeah.
So you could have a good life, even like music.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? How many songs that you can find really relatable
Comes from somebody's pain.
Yeah. I mean, even go dark years like Jim Morrison or Janis Joplin, or these people who had drink and drug addictions, and, you know, or there's so many. Chris Cornell, I mean, a lot of people won't know that, but like Chris Cornell is one of my favourite singers and artists of all time. And like, from a depression perspective, he went through, but the music that he wrote and that, how that will touch so many lives moving forward. Like, so I still believe that you have to have some form of self-suffering in order for your future, people that are in your future to get, so if I ever have kids, or, I mean, I'm not really suffering. Like, not really. I mean, it's self, right? I'm choosing to do certain things in order to achieve a goal, but I'm aware of the work I'm doing now is going to support anyone who's in my life from now until I die.
Yep.
So that is, even though I don't think it in my head, it's there. You know, if I have kids, I want to make sure they have not the easiest life possible, no chance. You know, don't you dare. Right.
Paint that wall.
That steamer will get broke and it'll be, right, get that mop out, hour and a half.
Yeah, but I think that, as I said, joy comes from some form of suffering as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Like 100%. And I think it's maybe just a wee bit of food for thought to think about.
I think that's all we can really do is, as a guy or a man, it's just, can you go one day just trying your best and see at the end of the day, if you've gave 11 hours, 10 hours, 2 hours of your best, you've done enough. You can go again the next day.
I think as well, obviously, whether it's been organic or not, or being able to, like, now I can go, right, I'm going to paint the full gym. Like 8 years ago, I wouldn't have had that. That, not belief, it just, my world was smaller.
Yeah, I get that.
world was smaller then, so what I felt I could accomplish was massive, but it was in a smaller environment. If that makes sense.
It does.
You didn't have these eyes on you as well, like
Yeah.
like
Do you have eyes on me now?
You're leading the
Well,
way for gyms in
like
Scotland, mate.
like it or not, we look at you like we said in the podcast, and there's plenty of other people in the gym, plenty of other people online that go, "Holy shit, that guy can work."
Yeah.
Whether you feed off it or you don't, you've done it since day dot.
Yeah.
And you'll probably keep going until I need to pick you up and shove you on my shoulder and take you up to A&E.
I think that's what I was going to say as well, though. I mean, just to give a wee bit of advice as well to the listeners of that. Like what I was trying to say was whether I've worked out, I've not wrote things down. I've just literally worked the way I work because I work the way I work. I don't really have an intent. Like I don't think about it.
Aye.
Right. I just get an idea and I work until it happens. That's it. But at the same time, it doesn't mean just because someone thinks they can't do that doesn't mean they can't. And sometimes it even if you relate that back to someone starting a training regimen or improving healthy eating habits or maybe overcoming some form of like depression or addiction and so forth, like having something that you can write in, having like habits, for instance. You know, I didn't start getting up at certain times and working certain times and going to bed and having goals just by going, okay, I'm going to do all this right away. I've created habits over the years, like certain routines every day, you know.
Just kind of brick by brick.
Yeah, getting up at certain times and even daft things like getting up at certain times, training at certain times, having fixed meals and learning certain disciplines and creating better habits and routines basically. And then what I did do years ago actually, I would even do that with clients. I would just say, what's 5 things you could do every day that would make you a better human being or a better person or help you achieve your goal? And I would just get them to write them down. And then by the end of the week, if you hit, say, for instance, between 4 and 7 of them, and you did that over 4 weeks, then you could take that habit away and you can go for something that's a little bit higher.
Yep.
If you wrote something down and you kept not achieving it, then the goal's not sustainable yet.
Yeah.
And you go back a lot. You don't, it's not like you can't do it. You just find the next level down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then build that back up. And I used to do that, like things I'm starting to just remember because we're talking now. Like things I would have in routines because before there was loads of big changes in my life and I did do stuff like that as well. And I actually did a lot of meditation years ago also, like mindfulness practice and stuff like that. So
It's not a course you've not done, is there?
No,
well, that wasn't really a course. It was just learning how to be in the present moment. I think it's important. Being like self-awareness, being mindful and being present, you know. So I think with meditation, by the way, this isn't a promotion here, by the way. It's just something I remember I used to do.
JP's meditation.
Aye, but I used to do that as well. I would, and just try and sit and not be silent, because if you were silent, you'd be dead, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Congrats. No, but just one. We're talking about stress, how I handle stressful environments, because it's trying to not
Just get another gym.
yeah. I mean, it's not been like reactive, you know. I think things that are within your control, change them. Things you can't control, you need to learn to manage them.
Yes.
Or learn how you manage them, basically. So, like a meditation point of view, just learning how to be in your thought, and you'll get these, or be in your own head, and you get these thoughts come in, and you might react to them, which you don't want to do, because reacting is not going to change anything.
Yeah.
Or you just learn to let them pass by. You know, so it's understanding that curveballs going to come at you all the time, but how you react to those
That
curveballs.
Body blow for the world again. Like,
Yeah,
what
I
you
know
gonna
the
do about
handles
it?
fell off in the door, right? But I don't have to be stressed about that,
Yes.
right? So I need to be pro-reactive.
Uh-huh.
So I need to work out basically, in a nutshell, I just enjoy solving problems.
What
Yeah.
solves this? Which
Right, and that's what I probably say one of my biggest traits is just being a problem solver.
Aye.
you're very good at managing your own expectations. You're very good at problem solving. Something that if we could all do that a bit better, then your life can only get better.
Yep.
I think, like you said, we could probably do a full podcast on every subject that you've got, and that might be something we cover. we do have a tradition on this podcast. Like you said, we can go in and do other things in the future with you. But our this or that's are quite popular.
They are. They are indeed.
So, don't know if you've seen these online, John Paul, but I sit with my phone and pretend I'm timing it.
I'm scared.
Pretend I'm timing it.
And Tommy fires them at you. This, that, very little thinking. You just hit us with it.
You should go, mate. What you're best at, you
I will
should go.
time this, all right?
Can you go? Okay.
So when you're ready,
Good. Let's go.
hit him.
Rock or rave?
Oh, rock.
Atlantis or Cybex?
Cybex.
Bodybuilding or High Rocks?
Bodybuilding.
Missionary or reverse cowgirl?
All the positions.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Beach or pool?
Beach.
Roleplay or straight in?
Oh. Roleplay. Why not?
Cars or motorbikes?
Motorbike if I was allowed.
Travel holiday or a relaxing holiday?
Relaxing holiday.
Drugs or alcohol?
I thought you said rugs. Alcohol.
Old school bodybuilding or new school bodybuilding?
Old school with a hint of new school.
Nice. Pit stop or My Protein?
Pit stop.
Ovens Peak Performance or JPs?
Oh, we're done.
No
Sorry,
comment.
Ross.
Class, man.
Shout
Oh,
out
fan.
Ross Irvin.
Aye.
Shout out to
the
Ross.
big man.
Ross is phenomenal. I'm
Jim's
so, I'm
also
so
sick, man.
I'm so glad he's doing so well. It's nice.
Definitely. I think we need, like we've spoke about this before too.
We need more of that.
That's it. It's in the area, man. People are creating that environment that's got...
More of your attitude as well towards it. Rather than
If I've jumped away, but if you have the attitude of catering for everyone and just having a passion for what you do, everything comes anyway.
I spoke to Ross about you, mate, and he, like I said to you before, he really appreciates, and vice versa, he's helped you with things. Like, that's what the community needs.
Yeah.
People that are, and it is for the community. You aren't going out and spending tens of thousands of pounds on kit because you're going to keep it all for yourself. It's for everyone to enjoy, and like you said, the standard's only getting better. So thank you on that. Keep buying. They love
buying.
to see it.
100%.
Do you know I still don't have a bed yet?
You don't need one, man. Just sleep in the prime incline
Just
press.
think, you have got this far without a bed. Would you need one now for?
I know I've got other priorities, so I need to look after Laura as well. Remember?
There we go.
True. Good point. Good point.
From that,
Okay.
for they this or that, I think you're looking after Laura.
Sorry, she needs to look after me. She does. But
Another tradition before we finish up, we ask each other questions every week. When we've got a guest on, we ask the guest the questions. Tommy, would you like to ask first?
Of course I would, mate. So, my question to you is, if money was irrelevant and you had no responsibilities, what would you do every day?
I still have the gym, but
In Thailand.
I'd play my guitar more as well.
Nice. I actually fully believe that too, mate. I genuinely do. I know a lot of people would maybe be like, oh, I would still do this or do that, whatever else. But the type of guy that you are, I genuinely fully believe you would do that. And I also believe that every other day you would be replacing bits of kit with other bits of kit to try as much as you could. But
Well, hopefully, if the kit's good, you don't need to replace it. So
true. But that's sick. I did think that would be an answer
100%.
to that, mate.
From your experience, what's something you think would help the younger generation both in and out of the gym?
interesting. So first off, I think Calvin was touching on this as well. Do you think it's pretty cool that I don't want to say like from when I was obviously when I was younger, long time ago, there's more and more people at the weekends like focusing on themselves and going to the gym and getting stronger and working on themselves both like internally and externally.
Yep.
You know, I just want to put a shout out to that, and I actually feel quite fortunate that we have a gym that's full of younger people that are like in a Friday night and Saturday night. It's a lot busier as well. So I think there's a lot to be said for weight training in general, and just obviously the benefits that come from it that can benefit you in the gym and outside of the gym.
Yeah.
Like understanding hard work, self-discipline, self-care. Actually, if you think about sink or swim, if you make it like smaller, there's not very many times in life where you can spend every set getting knocked down and going to failure and getting back up again as well.
Yep.
You know, And I think that when you're working on your physical strength, there's an element of mental strength there as well. And I think that does carry massively into life outside the gym as well. So what I would also like to say is whether your goal is external or internal, remember that you are amazing just the way you are.
Love that, mate.
Love that.
Very true. Very, very true, mate.
Also, last one. Don't worry if you haven't figured. Also, don't worry if you have. Oh my God, sorry. Also, I didn't open JPs until I was 35. So don't really worry if you haven't got it figured out yet. You know, just aim to outwork yourself daily and just become a person that your family can be proud of down the line. I think that's your legacy you should leave.
Aye.
Love it. And I think as well, too much of internal work doesn't give you, you're not getting the external. Too much external, you're not getting the bit that makes you go, do you know what, I'm actually worthy of who I am and the work I've been putting in. So it's, like I say, it's important to, which I'm so big on, you're big on as well, you need to be sure of who you are, but that comes from, which again, why I love the gym, you're failing every day. Failing's where the magic is. It's where fortunately, it's probably one of the only things in life that we clap for when we fail in the gym, but it leads to something great.
I think just to finish off, I think both internal and external are the same goals, just looked at differently. So I think working from the inside, I used to say to clients, work from the inside out, not the outside in. But at the same time, whatever you need to do in order to feel your best every day is what's most important. And no one ever has the right to tell you. So if you decide that you need to work on it yourself externally just now, because that's going to help heal, then you do what you need to do, and that's what's most important.
I think you always know. You always know what's best, and the hardest part is actually doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe the fitness industry's put us under this pressure of maybe always looking and performing a certain way, especially the ones that maybe are at a higher level, but I'd maybe add something, just all right, slow down. See if you've got to slow down to eventually pick your pace back up, that's okay. Doing it myself just now, just living in it, getting a wee bit more present, enjoying it. But I know the coming months I'm going to find my feet and we'll flow for there, and that's part and parcel of just taking life as it comes at you, adapting and going.
I think another piece of advice is you only got so much drive to put in so many places. You can't drive everywhere at the one time.
Yep.
So be wary of like different elements of your life, you know, like think family, work, self-care, and what you can, even if it's daily or weekly or over a year, or be wary of how much you're putting into certain things. And if you are, for instance, building a gym, or you have other goals like career-wise, make sure that the people around you are aware of what you're doing, where you need to go, and why you're potentially doing it long term.
Communication is big, isn't it?
Yeah, I think because if the wheels can come off, the training wheels can come off, that's going to allow you to have more freedom to do certain things as well. But you don't want to, like I've been there as well, I've had complete burnout loads of times, and it's being aware of, right, okay, how much you're putting into certain things. So I would just make sure if another piece of advice, I could be really aware of that as well.
This is the advice section to finish the podcast. Tommy, give us something.
I think when it comes to external, loads of people nowadays are so solely focused on that, and they probably know what it is they should be doing to fix it, but they're too concerned about what other people think. So this is a quote for Chris Williamson, and you probably know what I'm going to lead for, but the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding doing.
Yeah.
inevitably, you probably know what it is you should be doing. It's probably in the back of your mind, or it's crossed it at one point, but you've decided to put it to the back because you're going out this weekend, because you want to wear the same clothes that your pals is wearing, because you're trying to impress that girl, blah, 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 whatever it may be. And again, all of these things have their points. All of these things have their place in life at certain points. But if you don't do the work for both, you're never going to feel complete. You're probably never going to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And those minuscule goals that you have in mind, whether that be externally or internally, are never going to fulfill you because you don't have the so-called balance of the two of them.
A wise man once said, "Can you go?"
Aye.
Can you go?
I think on that note, boys, we will wrap up.
We will indeed,
Big
mate.
thank you to our sponsors, Pit Stop.
In this amazing heat, these big jugs are very useful.
I've got a pint of piss.
I wouldn't know.
Available now at Pit Stop, code TNT10. Will JP's Gym be stocking them up on Pit Stop Express at any point?
It's just put me in the position, haven't he?
I want them hanging for the roof.
Are they actually for sale?
I
I thought it was specially us.
No, they're going out.
They're available to the public.
Neil, I'm raging.
So you better get some bought in.
Well, if they're going on sale, I'll be more than happy to stock them in at JP's Gym.
Perfect.
For sure, man. So, shall we get up and get out?
First of all, again, thank you so much for coming on, John Paul. Like you said, we could do a podcast, and we will in the future, talking about the depths of your training, your knowledge, to try and give as much back. Because, like I said, if there's some people worth talking to and getting stuff from, we've seen it firsthand.
You're not getting away that easy. You're coming back.
we could have been here for ages, actually.
For sure, man.
So, but no, it was a privilege coming on, and I couldn't think of two other people I would rather be on my first gym podcast with.
What a guy, man. It's been an honour, mate. For sure.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, lads.
Thank you.
Get up!